What is up, dudes? Lady dudes, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, I'm doing another discussion video talking about a deck that is way under where it should be probably, and it's rough. It's really, really rough. You'll see what I mean when we get into it, but pretty much we're talking about Roids and our boy Cyrus right here. Cyrus Truesdale's deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. He plays Roids. They're a machine-based archetype with pretty much vehicles that have been animated, that have faces and stuff, and I like them, honestly. I liked them when I saw them in GX. I like them now. I think they're cool. I like their design aesthetically, but the deck just really doesn't do much right now. There are a couple cards, though, and that's why I want to talk about it, because I think there is some hope that there are a couple cards in the archetype where you're like, yo, this could be exploited for sure if the deck were to get like some legitimate support in the future. So that's what we're talking about here. So yeah, let's get right into the cards that actually matter. There's actually a lot of cards that don't matter. There's a ton of monsters that are literally gumbo, and a lot of these monsters are, there's like literally one main deck monster that's actually legitimately good. So anyway, let's get started with Steamroid. So Steamroid is one of the original Roid monsters used by Cyrus, and it's not good. It has a decent stat line for level 4 at 1818, and when it attacks, it gains 500 attack during a damage step only, which is nice. That's actually pretty good. Problem is, if your opponent attacks him, he loses 500 attack during the damage step only. So if you attack, he's 23. If he gets attacked, he's 13. So very offensive card and only really useful in the battle phase, but I thought it was interesting. It's an interesting, easy beat stick to put on the field to get offensive. Droroid, another one of the more original ones. He says, before damage calculation, if he attacks a defense position monster, destroy that monster. I mean, if links weren't a thing, that actually wouldn't be bad, because when people would go first and just set up negate boards, those monsters would usually be in defense mode. So obviously, it's lost value now from what it used to, but not good. Gyroid. Once per turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle. That's it. God. Oh, it's rough. Submarine Roid. It can attack your opponent directly, but when it does using this effect, the battle inflicted to your opponent is always the original attack of this card. So they put that there so you couldn't just buff this card up to an insane amount, then attack directly for game. And then at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can change it to defense mode. Its defense being 1800, which is actually decent, versus 800 attack. So you just get to attack direct and then swap into defense mode. Nothing really crazy going on there. I do love its design, though. Expressroid, actually one that does give me hope, where if this deck actually did get legitimate support in the future, this card would probably be a factor in that. And this card basically just says when it's summoned, so any kind of summon, so flip, normal, special, however, you can target 2 Roid monsters in your graveyard and add them back to your hand. So it's actually a pretty nice follow-up play. Or it could just be part of a combo, we'll see. But this card actually does give me hope for as far as like the original Roid monsters go, because it's just a straight up +2, which I love. Another okay one is Truckroid. It's super okay. It's not. Expressroid is better than this one for sure. He's 1,000 attack, 2,000 defense, so big booty, but pretty much all he says is if he destroys a monster by battle, he can take that monster and equip it to himself, and then he gains that attack of the attack of the monster it destroyed. So there are some, as you can probably tell, there are a couple of Roid monsters that help you get over stuff, and just like I don't know, Steamroid and stuff. So if you can finagle him to get over something decent, he gets it. And they just keep stacking. So if you do kill 5 monsters, you'll have 5 equipped cards, and he'll probably be like 8,000 attack. So it's one of those things where, like, if you're lucky and it works, it really works. But he also has like no protection, so all your opponent will need to do is one kind of monster removal, and you lose the entire buff, and you're probably not going to get it back. So, meh. Very, very meh. And then for one of the newer cards, I believe this is one of the few new support cards the deck got. I don't even know when. I think it might have been in one of the legendary duelist packs. But this card's actually pretty good. The first effect's really good. The second effect is barely usable except for specific situations. But yeah, so we have Vehicroid here. He pretty much says you contribute one machine monster, any machine monster, to special summon one non-Windroid monster straight from the deck. Yo, he's just a straight up tutor. Like, he contributed himself. That's like the first thing. That's awesome. So he's kind of like Lone Fire Blossom in that regard. Literally just normal him, treated himself to pull out one of the better ones. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of better ones. If you already had one engraved, you could just summon Expressroid and add this one and the other one back from deck to, or from to your hand, which is interesting. Pretty good, but the problem is they just don't have anything really worth using this effect to go into, except for like the big beat stick main guy, not main guy, but like the boss guy for the main deck. That's pretty much it. His other effect is really interesting. He says you can pay half your life points and banish him plus any number of machine monsters from your graveyard to special summon from your extra deck a Roid fusion with the same level of the number you banished. This sounds decent, but the problem is the lowest level machine Roid fusion, I believe, is level 5. So you need to banish him and 4 other Roids just to summon out Vehicroid, or one of the like barely over 2,000 attack ones, and it's destroyed on the end phase, and also you paid half your life points to get like a 2,200 normal monster on the board, right? I get it. It can definitely be an extender to help secure a game. There are boss monsters in the extract, but they're like level 10, level 11. Like you're never getting that many machine monsters in your graveyard to pop that off. Like maybe you pop off the level 5 and 6 ones, but the level 10 ones, no way. But the first effect is still solid, and that's why I still have hope for this archetype, that you do already just have a Lone Fire for the archetype, which is pretty cool. And 2200 Booty is solid as well. The boss, the main deck boss monster. If this card is tribute summoned by tributing at least one Roid monster, banish all spell and trap cards on the field. That's not bad. If you actually get to pop it off, you could possibly win it, just straight up win against a back row based archetype. He's 2700, and I guess right now this is really the only target for Vehicroid because it doesn't have a level restriction on what you summon. So you could just pull out a level 8 2700 beater. Like, that's not bad. But he still is super lackluster. Then we move into the extra deck. We start with Vehicroid. It can attack your opponent directly, 1600 attack, and it's level 5. The only reason I put this here is because it is a instant fusion target, as well as the lowest level fusion for Vehicroid to be able to possibly special out. Only reason I have him here. Then we have Vehicroid, the Ultimate Battle Machine. This card is level 12. And it takes 5 machine-type Roid monsters. They don't have to be different names, which is nice. He's 4,000, 4,000. He can attack twice during each battle phase, but he cannot attack directly. And then after a damage calculation, if this guy attacked a monster, you can negate the effects of that monster. And if he destroys a monster at battle, inflict 1,000 to your opponent. So this is kind of just a go-for-game card. If your opponent has 2 monsters on the field, attack, deal a bunch of damage, negate its effects in the grave, and deal them 1,000. Attack again, deal a bunch of damage, burn them for another 1,000, negate effects in grave. He's just supposed to win you the game if you pull him out, but when are you ever getting 12 monsters in the grave to pull this guy out off of Vehicroid? Because you're otherwise not making this. Oi. Then we move to Super Vehicroid Stealth Union. This is a level 10, so slightly more. Oh, is it level 10 or is it level 9? Oh, I think it's actually level 9. Maybe the other guy's level 11. I think he's actually level 9. If I'm counting correctly. Yeah, I think he's level 9. He takes Truckroid, Expressroid, Drillroid, and Stealthroid specifically. 3,600 attack, 3,000 defense. When this card attacks, its original attack is halved until the end of the damage step. Why? That makes him 18. That's terrible. During battle between this attacking card and an offense position monster's defense is lower, inflict piercing. Once per turn during your main phase, you can select one face-up monster on the field except a machine-type monster and equip it to this card. While equipped by this effect, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls each. That is interesting. That literally is just steal an opponent's monster. It says select one face-up monster. I'm assuming that counts as targeting. So I think it's targeting but non-destruction, which is still really good. And you can attack everything once, which is not bad. So this guy's okay, but again, how do you ever get him out? And then the last one here is Super Vehicroid Mobile Base. I believe this one is level 10. So I think this one's level 9. This one's level 11, right? No, this one's level 12. Yeah, this one's 12. This one's 9. This one is 10. He takes any Roid fusion monster plus a regular Roid monster. So this one's actually decently makeable in the deck. I mean, you're not making it often, but it's doable, which is nice to see. He can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and special summon a Roid monster from your deck or extra deck with attack less than or equal to that monster. Not a bad start. Okay. You can only use the effect once per turn, and then once per turn during the end phase, you can target one Roid monster in your main monster zone other than this card, return it to the hand, and if you do, move this card you control to that monster's zone. I'm not sure why that matters. I guess for Master Rules 4, it gets him out of the extra monster zone, and he's 5,000 defense, so nothing's really beating over him. Then I think the last fusion we have here is Super Vehicroid Jumbo Drill. He takes Steamroid, Drillroid, and Submarine Roid, 3,000 attack, 2,000 defense, and he deals piercing damage. That's pretty much it, but he's a little more makeable because he only needs 3 specific ones, and they're 3 of the better ones. Well, not better, but 3 of the tolerable ones, I guess. And I like his design, so I just threw him in here. Alright, so for the spells and traps, this is another card that does actually give me hope for the archetype at some point. It's called Megaroid City. It is a field spell, and it kind of works like a pseudo diagram. This card just says you can target any other card you control, destroy it, and if you do, add one Roid card from your deck to your hand. Alright, it's not a minus, it's a neutral, because you're just swapping one for one, but, that's pretty good. I mean, diagram's phenomenal. It's just a once per turn, I think, right? Okay, yeah, you can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, just making sure. I didn't see it at the bottom, so I was like, wait, this has to be once per turn. It is. So it does search you some stuff, which is pretty good. During damage calculation, if your Roid monster battles, you can send one Roid monster from your deck to the graveyard to switch the original attack and offense of your battling monster during the damage calculation only. That's not bad. A lot of them do have higher defense. I mean, look at Mixeroid. Mixeroid has 0 attack, 2,200 defense. So you actually get some legitimate stuff there. Trying to think. Submarine Roid is 1,800. Nothing crazy, but, something to think about. Expressroid, I think, has like 1,600 defense, 400 attack, so that's not just in general, it works for almost all the monsters in the archetype, which is nice. A nice little battle effect. And then you can only use each of those effects once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extract except fusion monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects. That's fine. I mean, they don't even have enough good Roid monsters to do this. The only thing this kind of makes me feel iffy on is if the archetype ever got a link monster, you can't even make the link and then make a fusion under it because of this card's text. So that's kind of brutal. So now it kind of makes me think links are almost out of the question here. We just have to kind of hope for just better fusions and better main deck monsters. But still, a solid Draconic Diagram effect with a nice little battle effect as well, which is nice. We have a spell fusion card here called Vehicroid Connection Zone, and it says fusion one Vehicroid fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as materials, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and its effects cannot be negated. Now that's actually kind of nuts because a lot of the fusion monsters are pretty beefy, so assuming they're not getting destroyed by battle, they can't be destroyed by card effect, and their effects cannot be negated. That's pretty interesting. I mean, it's not perfect protection, but it's not. I mean, if you're deciding between polymerization and this, you might as well play this. It's searchable off the field spell, and it's going to give them protection from card effect destruction, and they can't be negated. So no Ash Blossom, no no solemns on like effect activations, no ogre, no nothing. So it's pretty cool. I like it. And then the card that gives me the most hope out of all these, well, like I think like Vehicroid, this, and like the field spell are the three big ones. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated while you control a Roid fusion monster, negate the activation, then send all cards with the same name as that card from the activating player's deck and extra deck to the graveyard. Done. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Roid monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. What in the nuts? This card is insane. We've seen counter traps in our game now that are like nuts, kind of like this card. We see Salaman Great Roar, negate any spell, trap, monster effect activation, and destroy it. Then this card can bring itself back when you reincarnation link. Also, you have Sunlight Wolf to just bring it back himself. You look at Orcus. Orcus now just got Crescendo, a counter trap that also gives them a search from grave. This card, not only is it stronger than them on the actual use, so negate a card, send all cards with the same name as that card from the activating player's deck and extract to the graveyard. So I guess this card says, so I guess it didn't destroy the one that's activated. So I guess if they use a monster, you don't destroy the monster. You just destroy, or you just send the other ones from the deck. But if they use imagine if Sky Strikers used Engage. That's the first card they activated, which probably means they don't have Ray in hand. You negate that. Widow Anchor fizzle, or not Widow Anchor. Engage fizzle, so it goes to grave, and then both other Widow Anchors go to grave. Not Widow Anchors, Engages go to grave, and they're just like, well, fuck. That's actually nuts. Also, you can banish this card from the graveyard that get a Roid monster back from grave, which is pretty nice. That's just a nice little, literally replaces itself. So essentially, you get that negate for no cost, because it ends up replenishing itself, giving you a 1-for-1 anyway. Actually wild. This card is nuts. This card is pretty much the number one card that gives me hope for this archetype, because this card can just blatantly win a game if you hit the right card. Because then like you possibly kill a deck's entire engine, and then just win from there. It's actually wild. So, nuts. That's pretty much it for all the relevant Roid cards, though, guys. So, again, like there's literally 3 cards here that are actually valuable, but I thought this was like the wingman to the main character of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I thought this deck would get more support. It's got a good amount of cards, but so many of them came out like initially for GX, and they are so far behind. I mean, like gain 500 when you attack, that's not going to cut it. Live 1 attack, that's not going to cut it. Like attacking directly for 800, unless you have like a Lily Bell effect that pluses you when you do it, not worth it. So they would need a whole new slew of Roid cards. Also, if you made it this far, I didn't consider Speedroids to be part of the Roid archetype. I think they're a completely different thing. Maybe they're not, and maybe they would be included, but I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I thought Speedroids were their own thing. I thought they were all synchro, and this is just fusion. But I'd love to see some Roid support in the future. They just don't do much of anything. Like those 3 cards do things, but outside of those, there ain't much. So, guys, let me know. Let me know if you'd love to see support from Roids. If you do, what kind of support? What do you have envisioning for this archetype and its future, should it ever get support? I'd love to see a Link monster, but the way the field spell is designed, locking you into fusions, kind of makes me think that that's not going to be a thing. Because the fusion or the field spell seems like such a integral piece of consistency for the deck, and locking you out of links and then kind of designing your support around links doesn't seem like it'd go too well. But again, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, as always, subscribe for more stuff from me in the future. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.